Hello, everyone, and welcome in to a special edition of Content Coverage. We're doing this about an hour and a half early, but we got some big news on a Sunday afternoon, so figure why not strike while the iron is hot here. Georgia goes into Virginia and lands a very talented linebacker prospect, Chris Cole, the number 56 overall player in the 2024 recruiting class. He adds to Georgia's 2024 recruiting haul, the number 56 overall player in the class. Cole commits to Georgia on Sunday afternoon. Georgia holds off a late push from USC. They hold off a push from Tennessee. We'll have Jeff Sintel here shortly. In fact, I think we have him on right now, potentially. This is another big recruiting win for the Georgia Bulldogs, specifically for linebacker coach Glenn Schumann. Sort of completes the class there with what Georgia has. You have five-star prospect Justin Williams. You have four-star prospect Chris Jones there as well. And Glenn Schumann continues to bring in elite linebacker talent year after year. A year after signing C.J. Allen, who played the most snaps out of any linebacker yesterday for Georgia. Raylan Wilson, who made his debut yesterday and showed some promising flashes, and Troy Bowles, who were all top 100 prospects in the 2023 recruiting cycle. You add to that once again, this time landing CJ Cole out of Virginia. Let's see if we can maybe bring Jeff on here. Not quite yet, but and landing Chris Cole, this is another big win for Glenn Schumann. He is, in my opinion, the best defensive coordinator in the country right now. Georgia has allowed 10 points through their first two games of the season here. And really, all 10 of those points came in the fourth quarter when those games were blowouts. I think with Schumann and what you see here with the wonderful commitment edit done by Casey Dunn, our social media person here for DawgNation, Chris Cole, freaky linebacker talent at 6'3", and maybe even closer to 6'4", 220 pounds. Almost kind of like a safety playing linebacker. And what I'll continue to say about Chris Cole and what Georgia has and what Georgia is getting in him. This is a guy who you look at some of the best linebackers to come from Georgia of late. Shmuel Munden is sort of fits in that freak mold of a guy who is just an incredible athlete, a guy that can probably play if needed. Some safety is certainly going to be your dime backer as he continues to get healthy. He started yesterday for the first time and really had a positive impact. Now, technical issues resolved. We have Jeff Sintel here. Jeff, talk to the people about Chris Cole. What are they getting? Why was Georgia able to win out? Especially when, Shmuel Munden's probably headed to the NFL after this year. Jamon Dumas-Johnson potentially headed with him as well. But this is a loaded Georgia linebacker room, already a loaded Georgia class. How was Georgia able to land Chris Cole in this 2024 recruiting cycle?
Yeah, hey guys, welcome in. I think, folks, you need to celebrate this one. First of all, these commitments, they're going to be few and far between for the next 3 or 4 months. They get a tremendous player in Chris Cole. He becomes the number 7 highest rated prospect in the nation's number 1 class. Guys, I got Nakobe Dean vibes every time I talk to him. This young man has only made 1 B on his high school transcript. That was in Spanish. He wants to go into sports medicine. He wants to be a doctor. I'm going to give you guys 2 things that's not even on the DawgNation story on the webpage. Just kind of a little nugget here that makes you know, like, this kid really is genuine. When I was talking to him, sometimes the words are printed on the paper and they don't really come across with the emphasis. Like, sometimes I wish I could put soundtracks or interview soundtracks into a lot of these discussions. And I was talking to Chris, and I was like, Chris, he talked to me about development, academics, where he feels like he's a fit. He wants to be around great people. That was his criteria for forever. He basically knew Georgia checked all those boxes with a 40-foot tall checkbox emoji on every one of those. And I said, well, how do you think Georgia rates in the development? Well, I said, which school would develop you the most? And he said, man, that's Georgia. And I said, well, anybody else? And there was those dramatic pauses, and he finally named a couple of schools. But to me, it was clear from the jump when I was talking to him. One other cool story, and I kind of knew this was back in June that Chris Cole would be tailor-made for this class, is Chris Cole was at the Elite 11. It was like the All-22 Elite 11 competition that's held every year. This year it was in California, Redondo Beach, California. But he's working out and he's wearing a Georgia shirt. And this is like days before his official visit. And Dylan Raiola walks by, and he goes, "Hey, man, cool Georgia shirt." And he's like, "Thanks, man." And I guess just the look that was exchanged from both of those, I kind of got the vibes that Cole knew that he was going to visit Georgia. He knew that Glenn Schumann had prioritized him and told him, what was going to happen with DeMarcus Riddick, what was going to happen with Christopher Jones, what was going to happen with Justin Williams. So he felt like he was really plugged in the whole time. Georgia now has 6 top 10 linebackers in the last 2 cycles. That's unheard of, my friend Connor. But to me, Chris was like, I get to play with that guy. The same school that has him wants me. I think that was impressionable. Later on that night, I'd missed him because I had to catch Ryan Puglisi. I had to catch a couple of camp counselors. I had to catch Dylan Raiola. That was my bad. And I said, "Hey, Chris, I'm sorry I missed you. Is there any way we can chat later?" Him and his family members basically turned around the car. And Connor, this never happens. They turned around the car after they left an event, came back, had a great perfunctory interview. I think that clip you're showing right there is the one actually of Chris Cole wearing that Georgia shirt right there. This guy has incredible athleticism. He's a guy that can develop a little bit. He doesn't mind sitting as long as he's being developed. Maybe the most fascinating things, and I got 2 good ones, Connor. One, he finished number 4 at the Nike Nationals indoor this year in the hurdles, 60-meter hurdles. That's a guy that's going to go be a linebacker for Georgia. And then also probably the coolest part of this story, I've never seen anything quite like this before. He had offers from almost everywhere in the country as a safety last fall as a junior, 6'3", 185 pounds. Connor, he totally changed his body to become a Georgia linebacker, a Schumann backer, so to speak. 6'4", about 220 now as a Sam linebacker for his high school. Connor, we don't see that ever where a guy changes his body like that and then picks up the Georgia offer and is just as fast, just as explosive as he was when he was playing in the secondary.
And I'll say this, yes, he's coming into a talented linebacker room along with another talented linebacker class. But you look at the ways that this Georgia defense is changing, and I think it helps to have sort of a specialized skill set or do things that make you unique and stand out. Like Jalen Walker, probably through the first couple games right now, it's not looking like he's going to be an every down player at that inside linebacker position from Georgia. He's going to play a huge part of this defense because of what he's able to do as a pass rusher and specialize in that area. Similarly, Shmuel Munden, the athleticism that he brings that allows him to be a third down, sort of middle of the field linebacker, sort of like a safety in the middle of that defense, an additional defensive back out there allows him to get on the field. I know it's a talented class. I know, well, yes, Cole is one of the top linebacker prospects in the country. Justin Williams is ranked ahead of him. Chris Jones is certainly a capable player. And these rankings are not everything. CJ Allen was, I believe, top 70 player, and Kirby Smart has been more effusive in praise of him than almost any other freshman that I can remember in my time covering this Georgia program under Kirby Smart. With what Chris Cole brings from an athletic standpoint, yeah, he's going to probably take some time to get used to the size and speed that he's going to need to play at Georgia. But with Shmuel Munden moving on to the NFL, most likely next year as a first-round pick, I think if he's able to stay healthy throughout this entire season, with what Cole is able to do athletically, you do sort of see him potentially fitting into that mold as that dime linebacker, as that guy that can drop in coverage, but is also effective in the run game and will have the weight necessary to play and hang in the box when called upon in that manner. And so, look, Tennessee needs guys like Chris Cole if they're going to make that jump to go to the next level. USC needs defensive players, period. The fact that Georgia was able to hang on and beat out both those programs, with Cole visiting both of those programs in back-to-back weeks to sort of start the season before he made his final decision here, I think it just speaks to what Georgia has in Glenn Schumann and its defensive coordinator, inside linebackers coach. I know Brian Hartline recruits wide receivers incredibly well. With the way that Georgia has developed inside linebackers, Roquan Smith had a monster game today. Quay Walker is dominating for the Green Bay Packers. With what Georgia continues to do at that inside linebacker position, Glenn Schumann does not necessarily get enough credit, certainly from a national perspective in terms of what he's doing with inside linebackers. And Chris Cole is just the latest example of that, in my opinion.
Connor, I think it's a template here. How Quay Walker did a certain thing for the Dogs, how Nakobe did a certain thing for the Dogs, how Channing Tindall did a certain things for the Dogs. First of all, I think Justin Williams can do all those things. Maybe not the Quay Walker stuff, but yeah. I think Chris Cole can do all that Quay Walker stuff, and I think the traditional kind of run fitter, Christopher Jones is that guy, but he has a lot of boundaries as well too. He kind of extends the box He can cut. Both of these guys, Chris Cole and Christopher Jones, are going to be able to come off the edge. Maybe do some of that Jalen Walker stuff you're seeing right now. The big things we try to make sure every one of these young men have a unique story, a unique recruiting story. But the big picture here, Connor, is I think this is a triumphant win for the Georgia brand, because let's not kid ourselves. The USC offer, the USC ability to play there had a significant financial NIL component to it. That's what I believe. The same thing goes for Tennessee. And what Chris Cole did today by choosing Georgia was choosing Schumann, choosing Georgia's brand, choosing Georgia's academics to make this stuff sound even better. Chris Cole has family members about 30 minutes outside of Athens, an uncle who would probably bark as loud as anybody on this that's watching on this feed if somebody asked him to. Great human being, great person. I hope that story about him turning around and come to meet a reporter face-to-face for the first time that he'd never seen face-to-face for the first time. I think you touched on something earlier. All these guys Georgia gets are going to be superior athletes. Now, I don't know how many 8.44, 60-meter hurdle guys that run 6'4" and 220 that even Schumann has collected so far for his linebacker room. But they got to be smart. And Chris Cole is definitely that. He felt needed. He felt wanted. He felt like when you look around the room, I totally believe, Connor, that C.J. Allen is going to attract other guys like him. Christopher Jones, other guys like him. So somehow, not only rebuilding the room with superior athletes, you're getting these kind of coaches type mindsets where they're going to do what they're told to do. No, it may not be executed perfectly, but that's what they're going to do. And that's the type of things when you're a freshman, Kirby Smart saying, he says so much to me when he talks about C.J. Allen. He's a good player. Got a pretty good chance to be a good player. 1 or 2 years from now, Kirby changes that tone to the type of things he says about Brock Bowers. I've noticed that over the years. And I think Chris Cole is going to be one of those guys. Is he going to play ahead of Justin Williams? Is he going to play ahead of Christopher Jones? No one knows that. The practice field knows that. But when he does get in there and he deserves the right to play, goodness.
And sort of wrapping up, and we'll let you go shortly after this, Georgia wants a specific type of player. And look, it's clear that with the way that they recruit at such a high level, you're going to have to want competition and want to not just go beat out the best, but also play with guys around you that make you better. I think that's the thing that impresses me right now with Chris Cole making this decision, knowing that, yeah, Justin Williams is going to be there. Yeah, you've got 3 studs ahead of you. And with the way Georgia recruits, you're probably going to have a few more studs behind you with what Georgia's going to bring in the 2025 recruiting class, already a commitment from Jaden Perlotti out of Buford. And despite all that, despite the position for, in my opinion, that has been the defining position for Georgia under Kirby Smart, that inside linebacker position, he still wants to come here. And the fact that he's choosing to do that, the fact that he's turning down significant money from USC, from Tennessee, places where not only is the financial offer attractive, the chance to play is just of attractive right there. And he's going to have a chance to get on the field early if he were going to those places. The fact that he elects to go to Georgia right now, I think speaks volumes about the sort of mental character, mental toughness that he has. And that's the kind of thing that, quite frankly, you just need to make it at UGA. It's not saying that other guys don't transfer and be successful elsewhere, or can't go be successful elsewhere. But with what Georgia really values in recruits right now, beyond the obvious athletic traits, is, I think, that culture side fit. And Cole, to me, fits that to a T.
Cole's got a lot. And I think the thing that really, we've covered a lot. We've tried to cover a lot. But, you look at Cole and what he does. The Georgia brand meant something to him, but he watched them practice, Connor. And when I hear recruits say, dude, I've seen so-and-so school practice. Let's not say the names. I've seen so-and-so school practice. And then I go see Georgia practice, and the secret sauce becomes not so secret anymore. They're like, that's why they do it. He's told me before, Georgia is for hard dudes that live and breathe football and are all about the business. And the best thing is they're not scared of competition. They're guys that are like, you know what? I'm going to find out how good I am. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do what I'm coached to do. I'm going to do it with extreme effort. And then I'm going to watch guys that waited a little bit. Quay Walker waited a little bit. Xavier Sorey. Connor, I see him sometimes, and he might be the fleetest of foot linebacker Georgia's ever had. Now, for them to get him in the right page and going the right way and making the right reads all the time, yeah. But when that light's on for Xavier Sorey, tremendous. He's another guy that I think might only have 1 or 2 more years left at Georgia. And then when he gets it all figured out, that's another NFL draft pick. Same thing with Pop. Same thing with Mondon. And you just see the continual reload. But it's also, I got to stress this, it's a reload of the mental component as well. And Folks, I know it's a Sunday. I know maybe some of you guys are watching your favorite NFC East team. Maybe you're watching some NFL football right now. This is one to go tell your wife, go tell your son, go tell your neighbor, hey, man, the Dogs got another good one today. And maybe not a lot of people noticed it, but Connor and Jeff on DawgNation sure did.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks so much for popping on with us, setting things up once again. Chris Cole commits to Georgia, another really talented player, number one player in the state of Virginia, number one recruiting class for Georgia. They continue to keep things rolling there.